Is McLaren cheating or revolutionizing Formula One? That's the question that's shaking the paddock after Oscar Piastri's impressive victory at the Azerbaijan GP. While the Woking-based team celebrates its lead in the Constructors' Championship, a controversy involving their rear wing threatens to overshadow their success. Images and videos captured during the race in Baku show something unusual happening with the Papaya car. The rear wing seems to flex in a way that many are calling a mini DRS. But what does that really mean? Today, we're diving deep into this controversy that's turning the F1 world upside down. We'll analyze in detail what these images reveal and why they're causing such a stir. We'll also explore the FIA's position on this thorny issue and try to understand if this solution is legal or if it crosses the line of legality. And of course, we can't ignore the impact this could have on the championship. McLaren has made a performance leap in the last few races, and now we know that this wing may be part of the secret. Are we witnessing a technical revolution that could change the balance of power in F1? So don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay on top of all the news and controversies in the world of F1. Let's start by analyzing the evidence that sparked this whole controversy. During the Azerbaijan GP, cameras positioned at the rear of Oscar Piastri's car captured something intriguing. The rear wing of the McLaren, specifically the upper flap that normally opens when the DRS is activated, seemed to be moving in an unusual way. What's striking is that this movement was happening even when the DRS wasn't in use. As the speed increased down Baku's long straight, the gap between the rear wing elements appeared to widen, creating an effect similar to a mini DRS. This added flexibility could result in a significant reduction in drag, allowing for higher speeds on straights. Compared to the Red Bull and Ferrari cars, the difference is noticeable. While their wings held a relatively constant shape, McLaren's seemed to breathe with the airflow. This translates into numbers. Piastri managed to maintain a speed advantage even without the benefit of DRS, something that frustrated Charles Leclerc in his overtaking attempt. But what makes this situation even more intriguing is that this behavior of the wing isn't something that simply happened by accident. It's a clever solution, carefully designed to exploit the limits of the regulations. And this is where we enter the gray area of F1 legality. Now let's get to what really matters. What does the sport's governing body say? As always, the FIA is at the center of this controversy, having to balance innovation and regulation. First, it's important to remember that the FIA had already ruled on the flexible front wings of McLaren and Mercedes. At that time, after investigation, they declared that all 2024 cars were within the regulatory limits. This set an important precedent for the current situation. However, the rear wing presents new challenges. The FIA is currently collecting data on wing behavior at various tracks using special cameras installed on different cars. This data collection process began at the Belgian GP and will continue at least until Singapore, covering different types of circuits. The current rules on aerodynamic component flexibility are theoretically clear but practically complex. Article 3.2.2 of the F1 Technical Regulations states that any specific part of the car that influences its aerodynamic performance must remain immobile relative to the sprung part of the car. But here's the key point. No component can be infinitely rigid, and there will always be some degree of flex under load. This is the gray area McLaren seems to be operating in. The team will likely argue that their wing passes all static load tests performed by the FIA. The challenge for the regulators is determining if the dynamic behavior of the wing, when the car is in motion, violates the spirit of the rules. Looking ahead, there are discussions about possible rule changes for 2025. The FIA may opt to introduce more stringent tests or alter the language of the regulations to close these loopholes. However, any significant change will likely only be implemented next season, leaving teams free to explore these areas for the rest of 2024. This situation highlights the ongoing tug-of-war between innovation and regulation in F1. Teams are constantly seeking competitive advantages, often operating at the edges of what's permitted. The FIA, in turn, faces the difficult task of keeping the sport fair and safe, while still allowing the kind of technical innovation that makes F1 the pinnacle of motorsport. In Formula One, the line between brilliant innovation and cheating is often thin. McLaren's solution for their flexible rear wing is a perfect example of this gray area in the regulations. What McLaren seems to have done is find a loophole in the rules. They likely designed a wing that passes all FIA static tests, but behaves differently when the car is moving at high speed. This isn't necessarily illegal, it's more of a creative interpretation of the existing rules. Historically, F1 has seen many controversial innovations that ended up changing the sport. Remember McLaren's F-duct in 2010, or Braun GP's double diffuser in 2009. Both were legal at the time, but were later banned. These innovations often define eras in F1, forcing other teams to quickly adapt. The question here is McLaren breaking the rules or simply interpreting them more cleverly than their rivals? If the wing passes all official tests, it's technically within the rules. But if it offers an aerodynamic advantage not anticipated by the regulations, it could be seen as against the spirit of the rules. This situation puts the FIA in a tricky position. Banning McLaren's innovation could discourage future technical innovations, which are the heart of F1. On the other hand, allowing it to continue could lead to an aerodynamic arms race, potentially driving up costs for all teams. Ultimately, this controversy highlights F1's eternal dilemma: how to balance technical innovation with the need to keep the sport fair and competitive. Now, let's talk about what really matters to many fans. How does this affect the title fight? McLaren's performance has been nothing short of impressive in recent races. Since the introduction of their updates in Miami, the team has consistently been fighting for podiums and wins. Piastri's win in Baku is just the latest example of this performance leap. Looking at the Constructors' Championship, McLaren now leads with 476 points, followed closely by Red Bull with 448 and Ferrari with 425. This leadership shift is something we haven't seen in years, and the flexible wing could be a key factor in this change. In the Drivers' Championship, things are also getting interesting. Max Verstappen still leads with 313 points, but Lando Norris is closing in with 254. Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri are also in the mix, with 235 and 222 points, respectively. The question now is, what happens if other teams start implementing similar solutions? Could we see a dramatic shift in the balance of power in the second half of the season? Red Bull and Ferrari have already indicated that they're working on their own versions of flexible wings. If they manage to implement them successfully, we could see a fascinating technical battle unfold in the upcoming races. Leave your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you found this analysis interesting, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth content on the world of Formula One. Until next time.